Hey, welcome back. It is nice to see you. Thank you for doing the line thing. I hope that worked out well for you. I hope you took something away from that. In terms of lines over and over, we're done with that. Today we're moving into shapes, and I want to focus on two shapes in particular: squares and triangles. Those are the main things I want to do. We can build a whole lot of things with squares and triangles, so I want to make sure we can make those really well. Today's work is easier than the previous day's work, but it's really, really important. I'm going to use cardstock instead of just straight printer paper. It just has a little bit more rigidity to it and a little bit more form, and it'll be useful for doing repetitive forms later. So if you have some, cool. If you don't and you can order some, if you use printer paper, that's fine. I think you might be a little frustrated with it. In terms of supplies, cardstock if possible. For drawing, I'm going to use a micron. I like it a lot. You could also use a pencil if you want. You just want something that's going to make a clean, sharp line. When we get into cutting, your options are you could use scissors, but preferable to scissors would be something like this. I'm a big fan of these extendo knives or an X-Acto knife. These are great. If you have either of those will work really well for you. The big thing I want to talk about in terms of cutting is what you cut on. Hello. My desk I've covered in, this is a cutting mat, which if you cut into it with something, shing, it will heal. It doesn't damage what's underneath. What I don't want you to be doing is cutting out on your dining room table or the kitchen counter or something like that. If you have a cutting mat, that's awesome. If you can get one. If you don't have one, just work on top of some cardboard or something where when you cut through one thing, you can cut into something else that's disposable. Pizza boxes are awesome for that. Make sure whatever you're working on top of is okay to cut into. So what are we going to do today? Today we're going to draw shapes perfectly and go through a couple of the precautions that we need for that, and then make basic forms out of that. The skills we built last class will work in today, and the skills we build today will work into the next class, and each class is going to sort of onion skin and build and make your work really clean. Let's just start with drawing a square. I would say let's draw a square that's 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Why? Because that sounds good. I'm going to start in pencil. For me to draw a square, this is what I would do. I would line my ruler up with the bottom of a piece of paper, so it looks kind of like that, and then just make a line. Then I would take a 90-degree angle and I would bring a line up from there. What we're doing now, we're just doing light lines. These are sometimes called construction lines, making sure this leg of the triangle lines up very nicely with the paper, and then I'm just going to shoot a perpendicular line up. So we're going to be using the terms perpendicular and parallel quite a bit. So just to review, lines that are 90 degrees to each other are perpendicular lines, and lines that are even with each other are parallel lines. I'm going to measure out exactly 2.5 inches. So I put the 0 on the intersection point. I'm going to come over to 2.5 and draw a nice, even, dark line. Now I'm going to come up the side that we already drew. I'm going to come up the side we drew 2.5 inches as well. And now we're going to repeat the process. I'm going to take my triangle, line it up to what we've already drawn, draw another light construction line, and that should be good enough actually. We'll take our ruler, put it on here, and draw over 2.5 inches. And then if everything's all nice and even, and we can check with the triangle, if we put our triangle on here, everything lines up all nice. Perfect. We have a perfect 2.5 by 2.5 inch triangle. So you might be asking, hey, what happens if I don't have a triangle? Anything will work for you. Anything that has a 90-degree angle will work. A piece of paper, like this is 90 degrees. So if we bang back over here, we can figure things just like that. That's how we can really easily draw a perpendicular. So you might be saying, yeah, all right, that's fine, but what if I needed a 45-degree angle? Let's talk about that too. So if we very carefully fold this paper in half, we've got a center line, and then we fold an outside edge to the center line, like the first part of making a paper airplane. There's your 45-degree angle. And then I would go ahead and cut it out. And this is just us making tools for ourselves. My method for making sure I cut it out well is I fold it up a little and I press a straight edge to the inside of the crease to make sure it's lined up nice. And then, working on a good cutting surface, I'm just going to do a straight cut. And maybe a second one because this paper is a little heavier. Now we have a perfect 90 and a perfect 45. And you've made a tool for yourself. And that's one of the reasons I like the heavier paper. I might on here write 45, 90, 45, just so we know that we got one of these. While we're doing this, let's take it a step farther. What if you needed a 30-degree angle and a 60-degree angle? You know the different kinds of triangles. You have a right triangle. It's a right angle here and 45, 45 here. That's what this is. There's also the 30, 60, 90 triangle. And what if you were like, I need one of those? Let me show you how to do that one too. Using the same folded in half paper, right? We fold it in half once. We're going to take the outside edge and fold it to the middle all the way up and down. Be really precise with this. This is how we get good angles. So fold that to there. Here's the trick. We're going to fold this edge in so that it starts here and it ends there, from there to there. So watch this move. I'm lining this point up until I can see the fold go right there. So it takes a little bit of fussiness. You know what? Let me make it a little darker so you can see it. Okay, so there's the edge. I'm folding this over until I'm hitting there, and so I'm hitting right here and hitting right there. Oh, I made one little mistake. I was trying to be resourceful and use the paper we tore the thing off of. Oh, dumb. I can fix it. I can fix it. All right, we're just going to do it in reverse. Yes, I can do this. Okay, so I'm going to fold this towards the center, the outside edge towards the center line to make a quarter line crease. I'm folding this so that that point touches there and the other end of the fold is there. And there is that's 90, that's 60, and that's 30-degree angle. I just learned that the other day because I've always had measuring tools or protractors, and I was like, but what if I didn't? So I looked it up and I was like, that is so useful to know. So now you know. Put a ruler there, do a nice straight cut, working on top of something you can cut on top of. And now we have that. We have another kind of triangle. I would just go and label it the same way again. So we have a 90, 60 degrees, 30 degrees. We've made a set of tools for ourselves. I think that's pretty sweet. Let's get back to the square. So that's a square. I'm gonna cut it out, and this will go faster because I've already shown this a little bit. Okay, we've got a perfect square. And that's awesome. Part of why I use the heavier paper for this is I'm going to use this square a couple times so we don't have to do that measurement every single time. Let's come back to the square. Let's do the triangle next. So here's what I want to do. Let's do a isosceles triangle, meaning every angle is 60 degrees. But let's make the base of it 2.5 inches. So we're going to make the base of it the same length as this. We've already got a line here. So let's make that 2.5 long. That line's definitely 2.5 long. We want to go 60 degrees off either angle to make it isosceles. So watch this. We have our triangle we made. We have 60 degrees right here. So we line it up really nicely along the bottom, just like we did our last class. And then we're going to follow the edge of our tool super carefully and draw a line down. And now we'll do it the opposite way. Here's the trick. You want to be careful. Like I'm holding the paper down very tightly with my fingers right here so that it doesn't buckle. And again, that's why heavier paper is better because it doesn't tend to wrinkle and fold so much. But you can see we have a line there that looks pretty good. And once I know it's good, like I'm gonna measure this leg and that leg to make sure they're all 2.5. Pretty lucky, super lucky. Okay, so we're good. I'm gonna dark line it. And that's fantastic. We've got an isosceles triangle. Let's cut that out. This is kind of the case where we do this once. Once we make really good templates, once we make really good tools for ourselves, we don't have to keep going in and making the same things. So now we have an exact triangle, and we have an exact square, and the bases should line up, and they do. That's awesome. And these are the building blocks to make everything else we're gonna make today. So if you make these super well, you're solid, you're golden. We want to make 2 shapes now. I want you to make a cube, which means you need 6 of these, and I want you to make a pyramid, which will take 1 of these and 4 of these. All told, you're going to need 7 of these and 4 of these. And that's what we have to make now. I'm going to go ahead and make them here on camera. I'll time-lapse it just so you can see the work get done. Then we'll reconvene. Actually, I think what I'm going to do, and there's 2 ways to do it. Let me demo the ways really quickly. If you have one of these that's perfect and you need 7 of them, what you can do is line the corner up and then put a line down that side and put a line down that side. And then I would line it up here, end up really carefully with this edge here, and put a line down there, put a line down there, put a line down there. Then I would go and cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. And that's good. That's a really good way to do it. Same thing with the triangle. If you know this is perfect, you can lay it down and copy, 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 and make all the ones you want. But let me show you the other way I do it. Because I'm lazy. I'm not gonna lie. What do we know? We know we have a good straight edge piece of paper. Maybe efficient. I'm not lazy, I'm efficient. Because I'm efficient, I'm gonna lay out my squares this way. I'm gonna call this my 0 point, and I'm gonna go 1, 2.5, make a little dot, just like we did last time. Then I'm gonna come over 2.5, which would be 5, make a little dot. Then I'm gonna come over 2.5 more, which would be 7.5. And then I'm gonna come over 2.5 more, which would be 10. Watch this move. I'm gonna measure in 2.5 this way, and make a little dot. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. 2.5. Make a little dot. That should be everything I need. I have a dot here and a dot here, so I'm going to use a straight edge and draw a nice clean line across there. I was just thinking, I believe in making extras because sometimes we make mistakes, so I'm going to measure another 2.5 inches that way. Yeah, we have 2 sets of parallel lines, and now we just need to make perpendicular lines. You can use the triangle that you made. You can put your perpendicular here and just trace the lines up. Since I have a triangle, I'm going to use this because it's easier to see through. I'm going to line the base of the triangle up with the base of the paper. Draw a line straight down. Now we have a grid of 8 squares laid out relatively quickly. And now it's just a matter of cutting these out. I'm going to get a straight edge. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. Let's get these cut out. Sometimes I find when doing long cuts, it's better to angle the blade down a little than to work straight up and down. Okay, here's all the squares we need. You can check your work by stacking them, lining them up, make sure they line up all nicely nice. That's pretty nice. Yay. Now let's do triangles. How many triangles do we need? 4. I'm going to do these in pencil, and here's what my technique would be. I'm going to rely on this edge because it's straight, it's never been cut. I'm going to put the existing triangle on there, and I'm going to make little lines. So check this out. So I'm just going to put a really precise line there, and a precise line there. And then I'm lining it up to that precise line that we just did. I'm going to make one here and one here. And now I'm going to go back down here. And essentially we're making flippy floppy triangles. Line up to that bottom edge all nice, and then make a line here, a line here. I'll go flippy floppy. We're lining up to that line, and then we go here and here. So that's already 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do one more just for fun, because I make a lot of mistakes. And now, using a good straight edge, we're just going to fill in all those lines. Line the ruler up really carefully to that line. We're just going to go really dark on top of it. So if we stack everything, they should line up pretty well, and they do. Okay, so these are all the things we need to make the thing. Quick break. Okay, back to it. Now is the fun part. Now we're going to turn these shapes we made into forms. What's the easiest? Let's start with the pyramid. We've got a square. We've got a square, and we're going to array 4 triangles around it. We can see I wasn't perfect. Some were perfect, some weren't. What we need to start thinking about is how individual shapes like these can become a bigger form. Ideally, the length of one side of the triangle would be the length as one side of the square. And this is where you need to be really careful. I was close, but I wasn't perfect. Take a piece of tape, and I'm going to tape across those two. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. I'm making sure to push the pieces together tightly so that there's no gap here. tape is acting like a binding on a book or hinges on a door, we should be able to flip this and bend all the points up to make a form. So, and that's pretty awesome. My challenge to you now is make this, secure it together as cleanly and neatly as is possible. Sometimes I'll put tape on one side and then I'll bend it up to mate with another side and tape it like that. And then I'll repeat that process. And tape that down. This one. Okay. So that's how we make a pyramidal form. Make it as good as you can. Get these seams as perfect as you can. Try and make everything perfect. Make the tape look good. See, can you figure out a way to not make the top open? We want to make a thing that's as nice as possible. Now we're going to do a cube. This is where we need to start to imagine what's going to happen. So we've got our central square. If we put one next to it, if we put a tape hinge there, we know that's going to bend up. If we put one here, they'll bend up two sides. If we do the same thing 2 more times here, so now we've got 4 sides. Hopefully it stands to reason, we just need a top. So if we unfold this thing and just bring that over and we attach this to here, that can be our top. And what I enjoy about this is this requires a little forethought. Once we get the forms down, then we can start to take that for granted and figure out how to do it better. If we fold, 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 we've got a cube. And this is really the thing I want you to take away from today. I want you to make really accurate pieces that then can make more accurate pieces that can then be assembled into a thing. And I realize this is baby stepping, but if we get this down, then what comes next will be even better. To assemble, it'll be just like before. Do it as neatly and cleanly as you can. If we're going to fold these 2 guys up and put some tape there, and then tape that corner as neatly and tightly as possible. We've made a form. We've made 2 forms. And if we did it well, one form stacks on top of another, creates more complicated forms. And that's a little hint in terms of like the direction we're headed in. This is what I want from you. This is what I want by your next class period. I want a pyramid made out of a 2.5-inch square and 2.5-inch equilateral triangles, and I want a cube made out of 2.5-inch squares. I want you to take pictures of the process. I want you to take a picture of your forms in the individual pieces and your form assembled like this, and then upload that to your class wiki or send me emails of the pictures of both the apart state and the together state. This is important because it's the pieces making the whole that's going to carry us forward. I know this is kind of a long video. I know the content's a little dry, but once this makes sense in your brain, the things we're going to do next are going to be awesome and really profoundly cool. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience and your work and attention to detail. Make sure all your seams are really clean and really nice. It matters. This is the stuff that we're grading on. Cool. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.